Jon Sicotte, executive editor of Brewer. Welcome to another edition of the Brewer podcast on YouTube and Spotify. Make sure you're liking and subscribing to follow every week. And of course, 24 hours a day, we're available at brewermag.com. We're sponsored by Keg Logistics. You can go to keglogistics.com/brewermag for more details. Well, for many breweries in the United States, becoming a destination, well, it can seem like something reserved for a brewery that maybe isn't a major tourism market or even out in the middle of somewhere with lots of space, and you can create that. But what if creating memorable experiences has less to do with location and more to do with purpose? Well, in today's edition, I'm joined by Victory Brewing's Bill Covaleski, along with Curiosity Road's founder Irene Squizzato, to explore what breweries can learn from centuries of Belgian brewing tradition. Now, the conversation isn't about recreating what Belgium can do in your tap room, not what that you can do that. Instead, it's about understanding why some breweries become places that people feel compelled to visit and return and share with others, like this trip that they're going on. We discuss how Belgian brewers have built enduring brands around hospitality, authenticity, culture, and breweries of any size can actually apply those same principles to strengthen your customer loyalty and create destination-worthy experiences of your own. So let's hear it from Bill and Irene on today's Brewer Podcast. This Brewer Mag podcast is sponsored by Keg Logistics. Now's the perfect time to review your keg management strategy. Whether you're seeking a truly flexible keg rental program or intrigued by the seamless distribution freedom of paper fill, Keg Logistics is ready to craft a personalized solution for you, ensuring you receive the kegs you need precisely when you need them. For details, visit keglogistics.com/brewermag. Keg Logistics, modern solutions for keg efficiency. Guys, thanks for joining us here on the podcast.
Very happy to be with you today, John.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
So we're going to talk about what you guys are going to be doing here in this fall called Tracking the History of Beer, a Belgium Journey. It's going to be a traveling, I think, 8 days of travel throughout the Belgium countryside and doing some beer. Bill, you're especially well suited for a conversation about this. I know that you've long argued about how culture and education and experience matter. When it comes to beer, it's not just a liquid that you put in. There's actually an experience in it. And experience is so important nowadays, especially when it comes to connecting with consumers. And we'll kind of get into that. But, you guys are going to be going on this tour. And, maybe Irene, you can start and Bill, you can end. But, why are people traveling for beer? I mean, it seemed like it was new releases in America, especially. People were traveling to get a new release. But now there's that culture aspect of it. Have you noticed that shift? And why are you guys seeing that people want to travel for beer?
I think when it comes to Europe, and especially Belgium, there is so much history that that people can unveil and explore if they travel, if they're willing to travel to the place of origin of that beer, that sometimes is not even exported to the US market. Certainly is the case of some of the breweries that we're visiting. And so I think a lot of the appeal really comes from the journey that these breweries have taken throughout the centuries. We'll be visiting Sixtus Brewing, like an iconic abbey, as well as Marisdus. I might be butchering the name. I do not speak Flemish. But it's for an American traveler, this is going to be like completely different from any type of brewery visit. We're going into an abbey outside of the city limits in the countryside in Wallonia. And, you're like walking through like a very austere abbey. And we'll also be sampling some of the cheese that these brewers have been making along with beers for centuries. So I think that is a lot of the appeal. Bill, what do you think?
Well, I think that, when someone's considering travel, they probably begin thinking about the relationship to the sites. and the things that they've longed to see, whether it be the pyramids or a cathedral in Belgium. And then they start rationalizing why they're going to make this expenditure. So they really want to check as many boxes as possible. And one of the most important things to people is comfort, being among like-minded people, sharing in activities that are common and enjoyable to others. So when you start with a beer-minded person, that person is going to find great comfort in a pub. So going to a country that has no pub culture suddenly moves that option down on their list of things they want to do. And I think that it's really hard to beat Belgian pub culture because every pub is obligated to have a wide array of beers to offer. And there's always someone sitting next to you that you can turn to and say, why did you choose that one? And they'll tell you. And then you can compare notes. They'll be curious about yours. So I think it's we often, again, travel for the sights, but the things that we come back as our deepest memories are the conversations, the human touch points that occur, whether they be simple gestures or long, deep conversations. And what we've crafted here is one that you'll be with a group, so you already get to know one another on the bus going from site to site. And then we'll burst into a nice quiet place and we'll bring our energy to it and new conversations will happen.
That's awesome. Now, obviously, like you said, people are willing to sign up for this. Kind of what was the genesis of this? And I know I saw a post on the Victory Instagram page. So it was definitely like aimed first towards, some of your people in your area, since they're going to know you by name and know Victory. But, kind of like why do you want to go to Belgium? And, I'm sure you've been there. I know that you've been influenced by that.
Yeah. May I start this one first?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So in 2007, Ron and I took a group of 23 Victory loyalists and friends for a Pilsner tour of Germany and the Czech Republic. And if we have time, I'll tell a really embarrassing story about Pilsner Urquell. But at any rate, we'd already done this before, and it was a great success. And these individuals were always, badgering us to do it again, and it never quite happened. And through a local friend of mine in beer culture, we made the connection to Curiosity Roads. And when I saw what Irene was creating and the depth of care and detail that she was applying to all aspects of it, I was very excited because I had brought friends to Germany last year on a tour, but we did it not bare bones, but we didn't choose charming hotels. We just bounced from place to place to place and looked at beer. And I thought I really just admired what she had created. So it was sort of two different parties intersecting in a logical place where we were trying to accomplish the same thing.
Very cool. Irene, why is the experience so important right now, and especially for something that you're doing?
Yeah, I agree completely with what Bill just said, that the human connection is really key nowadays. I think overall, if we think about the history of tourism, that kind of started with the grand tour of the British aristocrats in the early 1800s. At that point, it was more about sightseeing. It was more about going to visit the archaeological site, the museum. Then with the Industrial Revolution, that kind of made travel more approachable to the middle class. And that's when we started seeing like the bucket list of places that you needed to check, the Tour Eiffel and the Louvre and the Colosseum. And now we are in a completely different new era of tourism, where I think people really embrace travel as an opportunity to grow and connect with other humans. And that is a little bit part of the philosophy that I have used to found Curiosity Roads. Really trying to connect the places and the people behind the places with the travelers. Because yeah, that's when kind of like the emotion sparks, because it's not just being like a passive observer of, you know, something beautiful that was, you know, the Michelangelo,
Yeah.
but it's like becoming kind of active. And I will give a quick example. I had a client just coming back from Sardinia, a very active client. He wanted to hike, he wanted to cycle. And the memory that he was more excited to share with me when he came back was, my cycling guide took me, which I mean, I arranged that, took me to his grandma house in this like tiny village in Sardinia in the inland, like places that are not really touched by mass tourism, that still has so much authenticity. And he was like, we had coffee at her house, you know, like something like absolutely not luxury, because it's just like somebody's house, and he was over the moon. So I hope that in this travel to Belgium, people will have the possibility to connect with Belgium at the tap room, and make memories in that way, and also with the people that will give us the tour at the breweries.
Sure. You know, and again, it's again, the word experience is going to be so much a part of this, and it's so important nowadays to connect with consumers that way. People are going to spend money to go halfway across the world, you know, with you. You know, what does that tell, let's say, other American brewery owners about what customers are actually looking for nowadays?
Yeah, I'll jump on that first. And I'll suggest this. There is no shortage of breweries for consumers to spend their time at, right?
Hmm.
Everyone who is operating a brewery is essentially in competition with other breweries for attention. So the more you can do to strengthen your relationship with your consumer, and this may be an extreme version of it,
Hmm.
but to build memories together, moving from place to place, has got to create a deeper level of connection, and it's got to raise the likelihood of folks coming back to your brewery. So we never really, as Victory Brewing Company, we didn't enter this into it saying, you know, oh, this will be a competitive advantage.
Right.
But you can't help but overlook how it leads to one, correct?
Hmm. Hmm. I agree, and I'll jump in on it because, Bill, personal experience just between us and my homebrew club. The fact that, you know, when the homebrew con was in Pittsburgh, you know, you and Max ended up coming out to the tap room, and I think we had about 10, 12 people sitting around a table just tasting beer with you. Like, that is still brought up to this day, and they know that, you know, and it's not this guy Bill, it's Bill from Victory was with us. Like, it's again, it's that emotional connection. And I still remember, like, everyone learned that day how to smell beer properly, and, you know, smell your hand, get everything out. You know, it was like people still talk about that. So I think these are the type of small connections that you guys, you know, can create with something like this.
Right.
And any brewery can do this. It doesn't mean you have to go all the way across the world to do this. It can be, we're having a beer tour of, you know, if we're here in Toledo, we're going to take a bus to Detroit, and we're going to meet with some other breweries, or, you know, anything like that. Have some
Mhm.
kind of food tasting right in there where you're bringing in people. There are many ways to develop an experience.
Absolutely. And, you know, even if it is a small a moment or a phrase that catches someone's brain, it becomes meaningful over time. And that's the value of that's experiential travel to create memories. And I think that Irene gave a very great answer to the last question. But one of
Yeah.
the things I would also tag on to that is, even though we want that, you know, that unique connection to the place we're going to, we also have this phone in our pocket that takes pictures and connects us to the entire world. So there's a little bit of bragging rights as well.
Hmm.
People like to show the experience that they've had as well. So that's another layer of the value of this. Not that you're encouraging people to show off, but to share what they saw that was unique.
I want to jump on and share that I am coming from several years of designing wine tours for wineries based in the US. And I've seen how people that meet in these tours connect and often become friends. And then they want to travel together again and they go back to the winery asking, like, where do you want to take us next? And there is a real kind of unexpected value of creating loyalty with in that case the wineries, and I'm sure is going to be the same case for breweries. This is the first time the Curiosity Road does a beer focus trip, partnering with a brewery. But I am seeing a lot of similar touch points. Yeah,
Absolutely.
certainly a different demographic, but yeah, kind of the same like enthusiasm and yeah. So I'm excited to see how the group will bond and like the kind of what will stay with them, and like how Victory will witness like in the next few years, like people just kind of like maybe asking for another trip to a different destination.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it becomes, it's not exactly, I would say, okay, every brewery is going to want to do this. It's going to be this great, way to, make a money maker. It's not this. It's there's an ROI that is different than money. It's definitely the thought of mind, I think, is important there. And most breweries can't send someone to Belgium. They're maybe not the ability to do that. But is there something that they can do within their own brewery tomorrow that makes them feel like they're a destination brewery, even if let's say they're not sprawling acreage and a wealth of history? I mean, is there things that a brewery can do, or is there something that these Belgian breweries are doing that American breweries can take from and become a part of that thought process?
Yeah, let me try that one first, and I'll start with the latter part of your question. What are Belgian breweries doing to stimulate this demand? They're being themselves. They're just doing things generation over generation, such that it's not new. It's just old and comfortable, and we don't necessarily get a whole lot of that in the United States. So I think the honesty and integrity of their operations is a draw in itself. What a American brewery might do, and bear with me because I wasn't expecting that question. It's a good one. I would say that even though it's counterintuitive, bottle shares. Talk to your customers about where they've traveled to. Ask them to bring a bottle from a place that other people can't get. And then that opens up a conversation. And if you're the owner of the brewery, you can be that fly on the wall and listen to people talking about, oh, you learn that if people like dark saisons, you would have never learned that any other way. So you can perhaps allow your customers to bring the things that they love and have discovered into your place, and use that as a sounding board to learn more.
That'd be awesome. And Irene, obviously this is going to be the kind of the first time for this, but do you have other ideas, other ways that this can become, like, obviously you want to see how it goes first, but like, do you already have the wheels churning of like, if this is something, we can find more ways to incorporate beer rather than just rinse repeat on this exact same trip? Like, there's other parts of the world to explore.
Yes, I was actually looking at a market research, and I was really surprised by seeing that the main, like the experiential beer tourism is growing so much and is expected to grow like 11% a year between now and 2030. And what surprised me the most was the list of places that people go to, like Germany, of course. Well, Belgium, of course, but also UK, France, Italy, and the Netherlands.
Mm.
Italy. I was like, not expected that. And by the way, I'm Italian. And obviously, like most of my most of the trip that I design go to Italy, but I've never received a request to go to Italy to do beer tourism. But the data are showing that there is the interest. And in fact, I actually just came back from Italy. I was there on vacation, and I was surprised. We were in a very, kind of tucked away town in Sardinia, and the beer list in this pizzeria was fabulous. Like, fantastic. It was like, whoa, clearly I have not kept up with what my country is doing in terms of beer.
That's awesome. And I'm glad it gives you an opportunity as well. I know we're in the middle of planning for our 25th wedding anniversary. My wife and I, at the end of 27, are going to go to Scotland. More because she's an Outlander fan and I like whiskey, but at the same time, we're going to take in some soccer matches and probably have a few pints as well. So, but that is definitely, I mean, the drinking culture is something that is drawing us to that as well. And I had a question that I was going to go back to because we were talking about it, and maybe it'll come back to me as we keep talking. Bill, you had said something. See if it'll jog my memory. But we did talk a little bit about the history. Obviously, you can be a 500-year-old brewery. You can't really do that in America. But is it the beer itself that is drawing people in, or do you think it really is that brewing culture that is kind of the experiential part?
The beer itself is the center, right? It's the main focal point of those who are producing it, and it's what they hang their hat on from a heritage standpoint. They do it year over year. But there's also something really interesting about Belgium, a sort of creative defiance. I remember the great beer author Michael Jackson in one of the beer events I was at, he was leading, and he talked about how Belgium sitting next to Germany is a little bit bizarre because the Germans instituted the Reinheitsgebot, and with that, they make technically perfect beer, in every single location, and it's regulated in that manner. But at the same time, they squash the bandwidth of creativity by excluding certain ingredients, certain processes. Whereas you go across the border, and so in Germany, every brewery's beer is going to be somewhat similar to the last place you visited. And they're going to tell you the nuances of the ingredients and the processes. And you may taste that, but it's going to be, narrow nuances. You jump across the border, you go to one brewery, they specialize in saisons. You go to the next one, they specialize in triples. But it's that creative freedom and defiance that I think they really have to defend, because they watch their neighbor Germany get the credit for making the best beers in the world, whereas they just hung on to what they were doing and they were comfortable with it. So, and I think they dug their heels in even more, almost over time, to become more idiosyncratic as industrial beer became more Germanic.
Gotcha. And I know what I was going to ask, and Irene, I think you
Okay.
can even start with this question. The consumer base, just the fact that I think, like I said, 20 years ago, people were going to places to get new beer releases. We're all 20 years older as well now. So we're more established in our careers. We have, more expendable income. Do you see that being one of the reasons, maybe in that market research, why we can travel for it? We were not standing in line for 3 hours for a new release, but now we're like, you know what, I can save up, and like I'm going to Scotland, and you guys are going to Belgium. Like, do you see that kind of change being, because it's probably the same consumers from 20 years ago, just now in a different part of life? This Brewer Mag podcast is sponsored by Keg Logistics. Now's the perfect time to review your keg management strategy. Whether you're seeking a truly flexible keg rental program or intrigued by the seamless distribution freedom of paper fill, Keg Logistics is ready to craft a personalized solution for you, ensuring you receive the kegs you need precisely when you need them. For details, visit keglogistics.com/brewermag. keg logistics, modern solutions for keg efficiency.
Now we have like a educated consumer that also has disposable income to travel across the globe and wants to do so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you feel that way
absolutely.
too, Bill? Just because and again, this kind of came to me while I was talking with you guys. Like, you're probably not seeing a lot of 20 somethings packing up and coming with you. It might be someone in their late 40s to mid 60s that are thinking
Yeah.
of going to something like this.
Yeah, it's true. Your observation is correct, John. I mean, I definitely think in the terms of the details and what Irene has curated here has a certain high level of quality throughout it. Where we're staying, the meals that we're having together, and I think that that's something that could be attractive to a 20-something, but might also just fall out of their price range as well. And I do think that it's someone who's lived a little bit longer to experience what quality, the true value of quality, and how that resonates with them. One of the things that didn't surprise me is I'm 63 years old, and it turns out that we've got 5 travelers booked for this who are all, I consider them friends because of travels we've either done together or beer experiences we've done together. So not to intimidate anyone who's considering this trip, but there's already a core of friends who know one another, and so I think we're going to really have a great group of people that are going to come together and have a lot to share with one another.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I
Go ahead.
hope that there will be some women joining the tour. So far, we only have men, beside myself. But I was not surprised to see that the statistics are showing an increase in women working in breweries, becoming head brewers in the US as well as in Europe, and just joining the industry as beer drinkers. I think if I think about the trip overall, there is so much like beauty in the cities that we are visiting. That yes, I hope that women won't be intimidated by a beer-focused trip and decide to join.
Well, let's kind of run through things. And first off, give us kind of a rundown. I'm trying to find the name of it again is Tracking the History of Beer, a Belgium Journey. And what is like kind of the bare basics here, like sign up, by, when, and kind of what's the itinerary and when you go in?
Yeah, we don't have much time left to sign up. So by beginning of August, we should have the final numbers. So it's a 7-night, 8 days trip, beginning on September 25th, ending October 2nd. We start in Brussels and stay there for 4 nights. We will do some exploration of Brussels city center. We'll do the Belgian Beer Museum, which I think is going to be a big hit, as well as visiting Cantillon, which was a brewery that a lot of people asked to visit. And then we'll do a day trip into the countryside in Wallonia, as I was mentioning earlier, to Madresdoos Abbey, which is really like, far away from urban life, as well as Sixtus, Tree Fontainen, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, not sure, but they're iconic in the lambic brewing style.
Yep.
And then we'll shift to Ghent, which is a less known city, is absolutely marvelous. It's on canals, and it's very Gothic, very pedestrian and cycling friendly. People mostly do not drive. So it's amazing to be in downtown. It's just like a completely different experience from what we are used here in the US. From the architecture, the landscape, like these Gothic buildings, like reflecting on the water, it's beautiful. These like little brasseries and tons of pubs and tap rooms and restaurants. And we'll end the and we'll do some other exploration there. We'll also do a microbreweries in Ghent and a hands-on culinary experience of waffle
Right.
and beer.
Ghent is also the location of the Opt restaurant where we'll have our Orval pairing experience.
Yes,
Very nice.
yes.
And
And
Orval is, I'm sorry, Orval. Ghent is a university town as well, John. So you have all this rich history, the buildings reflected in the canals, and everything is saying to you, well preserved, rich history. But it's so full of vibrancy and new ideas because of the university culture on top of it. Ghent is an amazing, amazing place. Everyone raves about Bruges, and of course, there's reasons to do so. But Ghent is the absolute best. And since I stole the microphone away from Irene, I'll also allude to something that hopefully I don't get in trouble for, but off of the itinerary, I'm really satisfied to know that we're focusing on Brussels and Ghent because we have the comfort of just living out of that hotel room rather than out of the bag every day. And the other thing is that two of my best friends in brewing, one lives outside of Ghent and one lives outside of Brussels or in Brussels.
Oh, awesome.
Eric is a brewmaster at a German brewery. Has spent an American from Wyoming, spent his entire career abroad. Now lives in Brussels, and Mark has been an itinerant Belgian brewer for all of his career as well. So again, I can't promise this, but it's highly likely that they're going to want to drink beers with me in the evenings, and I don't think anyone should be excluded from that type of experience.
Well, it sounds lovely. I'm looking forward to having people make some memories with you guys, and I'm looking forward to seeing some of the pictures. I'm sure that'll be posted online. So, very cool, and I hope that this gives some inspiration to other breweries to think about the future. How they too can be a part of the experiential beer tourism. I think that's really neat. So, thanks for sharing some about that, guys.
You're welcome.
thank you. It was a great conversation.
Well, I do like to end things on more of a fun note. This has been fun anyway. It's been a little bit different than the nuts and bolts business podcast that we usually do, but at the same time, I always like kind of ending with some fun, goofy, get to know you type questions. So
Okay.
I'll start with this one because we are talking about travel. What's your favorite road trip snack?
For me, it's apples for two reasons. One is it's a complete package. It's easy to eat with one hand. You get a little bit of hydration and it's good nutrition. The other thing is it's attached to a memory. My wife and I have had a really wonderful dear dog in our lives for 13 and a half years. And he was a little Westie, and he was really good at traveling and really good at sleeping. But as soon as someone bit into an apple, he was up and he was begging for some of that apple. And so it was always like it's a good memory of like what the whole group was thinking.
That's awesome. What about you, Irene?
Well, my answer is going to be a little cliche, but I'm Italian after all, and for me, coffee, like good coffee, is essential. So I often actually travel with my Bialetti, and I am very unhappy when I cannot find good coffee. um, this is like more of a drink, and you ask more like a snack. Um, Yogurt, plain whole milk, no fruit. It's something that it's really easy to find wherever you go, and that I try to have. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes.
All right, switching gears. Who was your favorite teacher growing up, and why do you still remember them?
My favorite probably has to be Miss Johnson, my art teacher when I was a senior in high school. For a number of reasons, she helped push me towards a career in the arts, which I found gratifying. But also, one of her comments when we were in class was that the mind is like a compost pile. The richest material is not necessarily what's on the surface. And it, that's profoundly true. And it's helped me in my creative pursuits because, yeah, you may think the first idea is good, but just keep digging. You'll make it better.
My elementary teacher that taught me grammar and introduced me to literature, she, I think, at a certain point must have asked us to study by memory some poems, and I took off. Yeah, like I still remember by memory some of the poems that I learned when I was between 8 and 10. Like the beginning of the Divine Comedy, for example, and several others. And yeah, I am forever grateful
That's
for
awesome.
that. She
I've answered
also,
this. Oh, go ahead.
she also, back in the days, it was like no longer used, but she taught us to write with a stylograph, with ink.
Ink.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Mhm.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, with an ink
Interesting.
pen. Yeah.
Wow.
I would go home like full of ink.
That's awesome.
But I
I
know how to write cursive, and not many people anymore do.
oof. Yeah, I think that's the way that the older millennials and to Gen X and boomers, like we can write in code now, and younger kids wouldn't know what we're writing. The problem is I couldn't write a cursive Z to save my life. It's just I'm never gonna learn. But it was funny, Bill, that you were mentioning. Like it's not from my favorite teacher. That was my fourth grade teacher, Mrs. King. But a quote that sticks with me to this day is my 10th grade science teacher. Just found he passed a couple months ago, Fran LaHillier, that he said repetition breeds understanding. And he, as a
Mm.
science teacher, telling us you don't understand it, then do it again. And
Mhm.
wow, did that stick with me
Sure.
to this day.
Sure.
So I thought that was cool. All right, last one. This one's a fun one, and it might take some time to think about it. Do you have an irrational hatred towards something that you can't believe? It makes you so angry, and people find it funny that you get mad about it, or you just think, why do I get mad about this? I know what mine is. I'll start just because, and it's
Okay.
actually gotten better over the years. But like and because I think we have a fridge with water in it now, you can just get. But like we used to get water bottles all the time, and my wife would just leave them wherever she was sitting. Like so, I'd get up in the morning, and there'd be a half drank water bottle sitting there, and I'd just be like, put it away, put it in the fridge, do something. Just again, it can be something that stupid.
That one's a good one. If it's any consolation, my wife has the same habit. Every door of every car has a half-drank water bottle in it. So, um, but and maybe I'm going to give something away with it. People, your audience can torment me with, but I have a weird relationship with words. There's words that annoy me, and my daughters love this because they'll make complete sentences out of all these annoying words. And like smoothie, I love to drink a smoothie. The word just annoys me for some reason, and I have many more.
I think for me it's the smell of cigarettes.
Mm,
Okay.
Yeah. Um, in some countries, you know, things are a little bit backwards still, and people smoke around you, and yeah, it drives me crazy. Um, yeah, that's the only thing I could think of.
well,
No,
Sorry.
that's
and I
good.
mean,
It's
I
not
think
irrational though, because I mean, smoke really
Yeah, it's
does
not
change
irrational.
the come. No, no, we'll give you that one.
we'll give
Don't
it to you.
worry.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I agree though, because I can't believe, and me and my wife have talked about this, that we leave a bar, like a dive bar nowadays, And like, we used to go party at a college bar. I was a DJ. So like I was up on stage playing stuff, and then you get home and you would just reek. And like, I can't believe, like, we're all like, I can't believe that we actually thought that, that was just the norm. And now, like, yeah, it's same thing. Like, you go into a place that, especially if it's older, and you're like, oh, there's that smell. Like, you
Hmm.
just, it's not around as much anymore. So,
No,
yeah, no, I think
thankfully,
that's,
yeah.
yeah, it's a good one to have. So, well, cool. Well, yeah, I like ending things a little bit more on levity like that. So I appreciate it. And now everyone's going to be offering Bill smoothies nonstop. And now you know where it's going to come from. I'm not
Yep.
saying that this is going to end up as an Instagram reel, but it's probably going to end up as an Instagram reel.
Well done, Jon. You've conducted this well.
Yes.
Irene, Bill, it was great talking to you guys. I appreciate you hanging out and talking a little bit about what you guys got coming up.
Thank you.
Same here.
That
Great
was
time.
great. Yes.
This Brewer Mag podcast is sponsored by Keg Logistics. Now's the perfect time to review your keg management strategy. Whether you're seeking a truly flexible keg rental program or intrigued by the seamless distribution freedom of paper fill, Keg Logistics is ready to craft a personalized solution for you, ensuring you receive the kegs you need precisely when you need them. For details, visit keglogistics.com/brewermag. Keg Logistics, modern solutions for keg efficiency.